Now, just because you don't see snow all the time, that don't mean it ain't winter. Just because you don't see the sun all the time, that don't mean it ain't spring. These things occur without the help of man. And one thing I like to use the analogy of a caterpillar and a butterfly. This metamorphosis. A caterpillar crawls around and eats, and then all of a sudden it climbs up on a limb and it morphosizes, if you want to call it that word. I guess that's a word. It goes through this metamorphosis and it turns into a pretty butterfly. Now, that is by God's design. All man can do is just watch it and study it and, write down, the day and how long it takes. But all he can do is tell me about it. He can't tell me how it happened or why it happened. All he can tell me is that it does happen. That he can tell me that the sun does come up, that the sun is in the sky, that the moon is in the sky. But he can't tell me how it got there. Now, you got some different theories. There's a whole lot of different theories out there about man and where man came from. And we're not going to get into that tonight. I don't want to get into no argument about where man come from. I know where he came from. I believe where he came from. I believe God created man, just like he created everything else. And everything has a purpose. See, everything has a purpose. By design, it has a purpose. Now, somebody had to put that purpose in man. Somebody had to put that purpose in that seed. Someone had to put that purpose in that animal. Someone had to do that. Now, if you talk about the, certain ideologies, then what does it say about how the grass grows? Why it grows like it does? Now, God did it, but some scientists will say that some scientific mathematical formula, by solving some equation, some mathematical formula, some mathematical theorem, or some scientific theorem, that they'll say that yes, that's where grass grows. But they can't tell me where grass came from. They can tell me about the planets and their orbits and the speed, but they can't tell me where the planets came from and who put them in that orbit. So if we're going to talk about God to somebody, then sometimes we need to just let God do the talking. And we need to be quiet. Let God do the, God's got glory. God's glory. God's glory. God's glory. All we have to do is just take a look around. That's all we have to do. All we can tell them to do is to just take a look around. Now, we ourselves, we have, a lot of us have testimonies about God and what God has done for us. So if we have a testimony of what God has done for us, then we are emphasizing God's glory. Not only has God created everything, He also takes care of what He created. Now, if you think about it, as He says, the bird. The bird flies. He really builds a home, and He's provided for. So that sequence what we call the chain of the cycle of life. That cycle is created by God so that each animal will have its supplication. Each individual being on this earth has a way to survive. Not only to survive, but it's provided by God. I mean, we go to work. We get up in the morning and, we go to a job. Somebody, gives us a paycheck. A lot of the times we have people that just work the fields. And somebody is working the fields because that's where we get our food from. So somebody's working the ground. But when you put that seed in the ground, you sit back and watch it grow. The farmer knows it's going to grow. And he puts fertilizer and things to speed it up because he's figured out that if you put this fertilizer on it, that it'll grow a little faster. That if he inject this chemical into it, it'll grow quicker. He's done enough studying of the animal or of the plant of God's creation that man can now come in and modify it. But he cannot create it. So God's glory is in creation, not modification. Man modifies. Man don't create. He modifies. Now, when you're talking about creation, when you create something, that means you got to take nothing and make something. That's what you create. You got to take nothing and make something. Now, what does man do? Man takes something and makes something else. So he didn't create anything, he just modified it. But look at the handiwork. Man's handiwork is modification. God's handiwork is creation. And we see the creation. We live the creation. We are the creation. So if we're going to tell someone about God, why not just let them see for themselves? And let them come to their own conclusion. Now, some are going to deny that God exists. That's okay. There's going to be a lot of them that are going to say they don't believe in God until the last day. And then usually on their deathbed is when they call on God. Or they have family members praying for them. And they would want family members to pray for them. Because you've probably experienced this. Some people that don't go to church never talk about God. Soon as something deadly comes into their life, something strifeful comes into their life, the first thing they want somebody to do is to pray for them. But now, if you want me to pray to who? If you don't believe in God, then why do you want me to pray? Who do you want me to pray to if you don't believe in God? So, if you believe in God, then you know that God's glory is in the firmament. God's glory is everywhere. All we have to do is just look at it and accept it. Now, everybody is not going to do that. And that's okay. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's a sad case that some people don't accept God for who He is. But for those that believe in God, we can sit around and look at the firmament of God. Now, they tell me that they're signaling to me and telling me that my time is up. Well, I still want to tell you tonight that we can go outside and just take a look around and you see God's glory. It's everywhere. Now, tonight, again, I want you to look and see where God is in your life. Where is God? If you come to the conclusion that He's everywhere, then He is everywhere. All you have to do is look around and you'll see Him. Just look around and you'll see God and you'll see His glory. I'm the Reverend Doctor. If you want to contact me, you can contact me at www.churchdotcom.org. That's www.churchdotcom.org. Or you can drop me an email, talkingbible@churchdotcom.org. That email again is talkingbible@churchdotcom.org. Thank you, and may God have mercy upon our souls. Good night.